I have another art critique for you, and I'm going to be talking about two ideas that are actually connected. So see if you can figure out what the connection is before the end of this video. I received this digital painting from Nagifry, who was asking me about creating a dreamlike and horror atmosphere, as well as moving towards a more painterly style, much like Yuming Lee. And before we jump in, my name is Daniel Folta, and I make narrative oil paintings, and I've been doing these critiques, often using digital software to explain concepts that would apply for both traditional painters and digital artists. So let's talk about this dreamlike horror atmosphere, which is really being managed through the values and the colors. And to create atmosphere in general, you want to start with an overarching color and value. I just covered this in my last video, where you can have the large majority of your painting consisting of values that are very close to each other, colors very close to each other, and then just a few selective areas that go really dark and go really bright. So I would be planning out my palette with all of this in mind, where the large majority of the painting is going to have these shades very close to each other, and then particularly in the areas where I want people to focus, to grab their attention, that's where I will increase the contrast. And so for this painting, we want people to focus on the face primarily. And so that's already in focus, but maybe if we reduce the contrast in the surrounding areas, we could amplify that effect. So that's really how you can create a dreamlike atmosphere. To add the element of horror, you might focus more on bringing in some darker values to create more of a foreboding impression. And so rather than making it bright and airy, maybe you want to move it towards dark and smoky, but that airiness, that smokiness will come from most of your shades being close together. So with your palette, you can control your values and your colors, but then once you're painting, you can really focus on your edges. We can achieve depth in a similar way. If we make the vast majority of the painting soft, or maybe not soft, but choppy, broken, stylized, you can evoke some more emotion of horror perhaps. So we have this overall impression. But then if we now go and selectively choose which areas we want to be sharp, then we can pull those out. And I'm just doing this by erasing the work that I've done on top of this. There's many techniques that you could do. You could start with everything being soft and choppy and then refine your painting as you go. Or you could start it like Nagi did and have everything in focus, and then intentionally soften the areas of the painting that you don't want to compete for attention. And so the similarity that I'm trying to point to is this idea that everything is close to together, and then there's this lightning strike of this thing that jumps out, it stands out, and that is commanding. And you draw a relationship from an area that has contrast against an area that does not have contrast. And so this idea of 90% of your painting having similar shades and then selective contrast, you can do the same thing with your edges. All the edges are soft, and then blam, there's this lightning strike. And then what's really cool is that now you've kind of opened up a new opportunity for yourself. Rather than just trying to paint objects and paint what you see, you can actually paint what you feel and still get away with the same impression for those areas that don't need as much attention to detail. A common technique here is broken edges, where you take your brush and in a few areas you let it spill over the edge of an object, let's say. And you don't want to do too much, because you do want to give people an idea of what's underneath that broken edge, but it does allow you to still explain the objects themselves while also evoking whatever emotion or style you want to convey. So I've explained all this with mostly value and edges. You can also do this with colors as well, and then that kind of opens up a whole new dimension to this. But yeah, I think just taking this one more level, I think this is very much how our brains work, where our eyes will see one thing in sharp focus, and then in our peripherals, it's really just a blur. And we do that in our mind as well. If there's a problem in our life, we focus on that problem, and then other things get out into the periphery. And so, in a sense, what we're doing here is its own form of realism, not photorealism, but certainly within the realm of believability. That being said, the more that you explore this, I think the more that we find ourselves in some subjective territory about, what style you want to use and how you want to convey this. But there's definitely some kind of fundamental principle here of using not just contrast to make something pull forward, but actually using an area of low contrast against an area of high contrast. It all comes back to relationships at the end. And yeah, I don't know why that just fires me up so much. Like, art is all about relationships. Life is all about relationships. There's this powerful concept underneath the surface here. It's like if you have a painting that's washed over, then it's monotonous. And if you have a painting that's super high contrast, it's just trying to grab your attention. But what you really want to do is allow them to enter into your world. And within that world, you have areas of high contrast and areas of low contrast. Maybe the relationships within the low contrast are elegant and subtle and beautiful. And then the areas with high contrast are intense and climactic. But then there's also another relationship between the contrast and the lack of contrast, the peace and the chaos. There's something to that, and it's embedded in our experience of the world and reality, and it exists inside of painting. And I think that the use of these values and the use of these edges are pointing to that. Anyways, as I said, I'm doing coaching and I'm doing these free critiques, which have been super fulfilling for me and a great way to make videos and contribute to the art community. I'm so appreciative of all the comments. They inspire me and motivate me to do my work as well. So thank you all. And if you are interested in coaching, then start by submitting your work for a critique. You don't have to expose yourself to the public like this. You can ask for an anonymous critique, and I still honor those as well. Though I would encourage you to let this be beneficial to the whole community as well. And thank you, Nagifry, for sharing your work with us. You can follow her on social media, and I even saw this one piece that she did recently, and I know it's a much quicker piece, but I really see a huge improvement in this visual hierarchy that we've been talking about. All right, happy painting.